every year to have refugees.
I've just got to push back on this. Now, I've got to push. This is really serious stuff. First of all, we say it's not about colour.
No, it's not.
Nigel Farage's own words.
I'm brown. I'm a British citizen.
You may.
What happens when a political proposal sounds tough on paper but starts falling apart under close scrutiny? That's exactly what you're about to see. Before we dive into the full story, comment where you're watching from, and don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss the next one. Today's debate centers on one of Nigel Farage's most controversial immigration proposals, restricting access to social housing for foreign nationals while raising the possibility of deportation in certain cases. It's a policy that has sparked strong reactions from both supporters and critics. During this exchange, Lin May attempts to defend the proposal, arguing that it's a common-sense approach. But as the discussion unfolds, Matt Stadlen begins asking a series of direct questions that put the policy under real pressure. What starts as a confident defense quickly turns into a much tougher conversation. Watch closely, because this debate takes an interesting turn.
Lynn, do you think it's outrageous?
No, I don't. I'd actually disagree, and I support his fundamental principle. What I don't support is the 3 months. It's not realistic. Many people have lived here for a long time and actually only have British citizenship now, and you're not allowed to leave people stateless. But this whole idea, you cannot go to other countries and not be citizens and just expect social housing. In the world, we would like to house everybody across the world that is deemed as a refugee. We are a small country, we have limited housing stock, and at present, we have 1.3 million people waiting to be housed.
Sure.
Now, the reason why British people are pushed to the back of the list is because questions that councils ask, do you have any friends and family you could stay with? If someone doesn't know the system and says yes, meaning they can stay on a friend's sofa, they are pushed to the back of the queue. A person with refugee status who has no one will be bumped up to category A, and they will get social housing. So why would somebody who is a British citizen, doesn't matter, irrespective of colour, this is not about race, British citizenship, who has been paying taxes, waiting on the council list for over 10 years, will not be able to get housing because we allow around 48,000 nearly every year to have refugees.
I've just got to push back on this. Now, I've got to push. This is really serious stuff. First of all, we say it's not about colour.
No, it's not.
Nigel Farage's own words.
I'm brown. I'm a British citizen.
You may well be. There are lots of brown people in this country. Nigel Farage's own words. Anti-white racism was embedded into the state. So he's talking about skin colour. And let's be absolutely clear, because I don't think the penny has dropped yet. There may well be a conversation to be had about how you house people moving forward. And of course, we have responsibilities to everybody in this country once you are allowed in this country. We were not somewhere like India where you have people lining the streets as you move from the airport into Mumbai. We're a civilised country. And yes, there is a shortage of houses, but what we do not do as a response to that is to point over there and say foreigners. And as I say, he's talking about people who may have been in this country for 10, 15, 20, 30 years, many of whom will have paid into society, if not all of whom, and he's going to rip them out of their homes, He's ripping them out of their homes, and he's saying, if you don't go and find somewhere else 3 months, we may deport you. How dare this man say it is spectacularly anti-British? How dare he say that he is going to rip families out of their homes who've been here for many years, some of them, and say, Matt, sorry, we may deport you. This is outrageous.
No, but Hillingdon Council are wrongly evicting English people out of their homes to give our homes to immigrants. It's completely wrong.
Sure. I don't know the particulars of that case, but when you say giving them to immigrants, are these people who are refugees who had their asylum accepted?
No, they're not refugees. They're not. They're not.
All right.
So let me ask Debbie. I ask you straightforwardly because I don't think you heard or grasped what I was saying, I'm afraid. And this is an unbelievably important issue. This is policy coming from the mouth of a man who wants to be our next Prime Minister. Are you in favour of someone who has lived in social housing for 10, 15 years or lived in this country for 10, 15, 20 years, who finds themselves in social housing, and then Nigel Farage comes along and says, out you go, mate, and you go and find your own housing in 3 months, otherwise you might be deported, even though you've lived here for 20, 30 years. Are you in favour of that, Debbie?
Yes, I am, because wrongly they evicted English families out of their home to put them into our homes.
I just don't believe you. I'm sorry. And even if they've done that, and if they had done that, which would obviously be totally wrong, it doesn't justify what Nigel Farage is saying he wants to be reform policy if they become government. It's just despicable.
No, it's not. Nigel Farage isn't a racialist. The immigrants are taking over our country.
Kenny in West Sussex, what's your take on this incredibly divisive issue?
Yeah, it is a very divisive issue, but I actually agree with Nigel Farage. We've got people on the streets everywhere. I'm originally from Northern Ireland. You've people on the streets. I live in West Sussex now. You've got people on the streets, people begging when you get out of Croydon. I work up there. You've got people begging, you know, who are wrapped in a blanket. They should be housed before people coming into the country.
And your answer to that, Kenny, is to take more people and put them on the streets effectively, or deport them, even if they've lived in this country for 10, 15, 20 years. What an astonishing conclusion to draw from the misery that you've just said you've witnessed.
No, I strongly believe that the homeless people, exactly, and children growing up here that are British, totally, they should get the housing before people that have come in later.
What about moving forward then?
Kenny, thank you. I mean, go on, Lynn.
Well, what about, OK, Matt, you seem to be concentrating on ripping people out of their homes, and I get that. And that's why I said I don't agree with the 3 months.
That's Farage's policy.
But OK, but let's say he was to say people now on who come in this country, OK, if they're here they may get a year to stay in temporary accommodation, but permanent council or social housing should go to British people first. Would you be in acceptance of that?
Once people are in this country, we have a certain responsibility to them. The way in which we work out who gets social housing is obviously important. The government's policy, literally their policy, is to stop the boats. It's to stop irregular and illegal immigration. But once we've allowed people in, we can't just pretend that we don't have any responsibility. That said, as Alexis has already pointed out, there are already in place limits on the access to various forms of welfare, including, I believe, housing, that people who come to this country have access to.
OK, I've got to leave it there because we've run out of time.
So, there you have it. And in what Matthew Goodwin exposed here goes far beyond the cruelty of Nigel Farage's policy. He exposed the fatal flaw in the argument itself, the delusion that you can solve a systemic housing shortage by retroactively ripping legally settled families out of their homes and scapegoating them for structural failure. It's a lazy, simplistic answer to a deeply complex crisis. And actually, having seen the events in Belfast last week, that this kind of policy, coupled with what we now know Farage has the capability of fermenting, snorts, in places like Belfast and Southampton and previously in Southall, this kind of policy is actually quite worrying. Because if there becomes a sort of public demand to get certain individuals out of social housing, then you can easily make the jump to seeing mobs of people approaching these sorts of houses and trying to get the people out on behalf of Nigel. So, yeah, watch this space. But, you know, Lynette in this is simply playing the archetypal right-wing commentator on these panel shows, which is to act reactionary and less thoughtful. And I believe that's what she's really like anyway, because producers believe that's exactly what the right wing represents. And in some ways they are correct. The right constantly relies on simplistic, small-c conservative-sounding soundbites instead of real solutions. It's exactly why Nigel Farage is so popular at the moment. It's exactly why someone like Boris Johnson was popular. And it's the delusion that their right-wing ecosystem lives in all day, every day. But, for me, this format does a massive disservice to viewers who actually need to be educated to think deeply about our politics. But, the fundamental priority of these programs is not to really try and solve the issues that they're talking about or even get a better debate going. It's simply to create enough rage to sell more expensive advertising space. Anyway, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you want to see more videos like this, hit the like and subscribe buttons. And don't forget to ring the notification bell so you never miss a video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.